Welcome to the channel. Welcome back to the channel. Starting over at 50 Life in Africa. This is my backup channel. On this channel, I talk about more personal things about me, my relationships, experiences, different challenges and relationships, abuse that I've experienced, and how I've managed to move forward, how I managed to survive, how I've managed to thrive. So this channel will give you more of an insight of different relationships that I've had, and people are asking me on my other channel. My main channel is called Diaspora Connect Tanzania. On that channel, I talk more about me leaving America, moving to Africa, doing business, and I encourage, I do consultations, travel, relocation, or business consultations on that channel. This one is more personal. I didn't want to mix the personal experience of relationships with the business channel and relocation information. So this one is more about my personal feelings, experiences in relationships and abuse, etc. So in this video, I want to talk about my experience with my father, basically. A lot of times, we as women, when we encounter abusive relationships or we keep attracting abusive men, sometimes it stems from our upbringing or our experiences growing up, etc. So, for me, this could be the reason why I tend to attract, not only because I'm a good person, I am a light, and darkness is attracted to light. So when you're a good person, you have the spirit of Abba Father, you have empathy, you're loving, you're kind. Sometimes you attract evil people, you attract energy vampires that want to drain your life, they want to suck your goodness out because they have darkness, and they want to exchange that energy, wicked for good, good for, they want to feel that love and happiness and all those different beautiful qualities that you have. So I wanted to share with you and how it was when I was growing up. So my mom and dad got married at a young age. I think she was 16, I believe he was 18, and they were actually in eighth grade. So you can imagine, I guess my father was kept back a couple of times. But anyway, they met, got married because they used to get married young back then. Then they had my sister at 16 and they had me at 17. So they were very young. That my mom and dad, they, young growing up, and, just young people trying to raise children. And he still wanted to, he played the guitar. He still wanted to live his life. He still wanted to be, pursuing his dream of being a musician. He used to play the guitar like Jimi Hendrix. He had the big fro. He had the whole Jimi Hendrix vibe going on. If you don't know who he is, Google Jimi Hendrix. You'll see the guitar king, and it's almost like he played, I guess, like more rock and roll on the guitar. But anyway, he was a big Jimi Hendrix. Um, he remind me of Jimi Hendrix. He could sing, play the guitar, play the piano. He's very talented. So they started not getting along. They started kind of, fighting and not getting along. I think it was like a jealousy thing that he would go out and play, and all the women would be like, oh, and she would have to stay home with the kids. And she felt some kind of way as a young person, not able to really live her life because she basically went from her parents' house into being a mother or a wife. And so at a young age, so that could take a toll on a young person trying to raise two kids, always with the kids, and he was always gone. And so eventually they used to fight a lot. So he left because they fell out, they didn't get along. So he left, and he left not only her but us too. So she kind of raised us as a single parent, the two kids. She never left us, but she had never worked a job. She went right from her mother's house literally into living with him, and he was the provider. She had never worked or anything. So when he left, she had to find a job. She had to get on. We had to get on welfare. We had to get assistance from government to take care of us. She had to get on welfare, food stamps, and she finally got her first job at like a diner. And back then it was a lot of diners in New Jersey, and from New Jersey. So she got her first job at a diner as like a waitress. Then her next job was like McDonald's. And then she was so good there, they made her a manager. So that's kind of how she was able to sustain taking care of us by herself. Um, and then eventually we had to move because we couldn't afford our rent. So we moved with my great aunt, who is my grandmother's sister. And so she had the biggest house, and it was in Jersey, New Jersey. She had a huge house, and all of us used to live with her. Whenever our families couldn't pay rent, whenever we things got tough financially, everybody would live in her house. She had a massive house, so many rooms, 5 or 6 rooms upstairs, then an attic and a basement. So people were living in the attic, on the second floor. The main floor was where the kitchen, dining room, living room was, and then in the basement there were rooms down there. So it's like family members were everywhere in her room, her house. And so this is kind of what we kind of grew up. We all went to school together. Me and my cousins, we were like brothers and sisters. We all lived together. That was the cool part about all of us living together. It was a bunch of kids living there. Like, I don't know, like 6 or 7 boys and girls. So we all had our own rooms, our own space and stuff. Only problem was only 2 bathrooms. So we all had to take turns trying to use the bathroom. That was a nightmare. And then only one of the bathrooms actually had a shower. The other one downstairs was like a public bathroom. It only had like a sink and a toilet and a sink. The one upstairs is the only one that had like a shower, it had a tub. And so, yeah, so, but anyway, we couldn't use the shower, so we had to use the tub. We had to take bath, basin bath. So we couldn't, like, every time we tried to run water in the tub, my great aunt would be like, "Turn that water off." So we had to do like a basin bath. We had to basically in the tub pour water in the basin and stand in it and bathe like that. Stand in it, bathe, rinse off. But anyway, so I'm used to bathing in a bucket, to be honest. Like, yeah, we did that even in the city. So to save water. So, but anyway, so I feel like my father leaving um, was the catalyst of me being um, needing that father figure, needing that, missing that father figure, and not having that male uh, that male experience in my life. So when the men would start coming, it will always be men that were not always, but a lot of times it would be men that were not good men, and I will always be like the savior, always trying to save him. Oh, yeah, he's doing this because of this, or he's acting like this because of this, which was true. Was always the reason why a lot of the young men were acting up, because they were crying out, because they didn't have the things at home, or maybe it was a single family, or maybe it was issues at home with abuse. So we just have broken upbringings, a lot of us. And so I feel like that was the catalyst of me being like this, always trying to save somebody. I'm a woman always trying to save somebody. The men, would be attracted to me. They would never have everything that they needed to basically be a good provider to me, be a good emotional support to me. I always had to be the one to do all this. Um, and financially, it was a lot of times 50-50. I never was never in a relationship with a man. He paid everything. He did everything. I always had to help. I always had to be like, it always was 50-50. And for me, how we was raised, it was not a problem with that, because a lot of the men needed help back then too. So even though my father was the main provider, when he left, my mother ended up being a single parent. So, and she always raised us not to depend on a man to take care of us, because of the situation she was in, where she depended, and then he left, and then she was left with nothing, and she struggled to provide. So she never wanted us to have to go through that, my sister and I. So she raised us to be kind of independent, always have your own job, always have your own money. So if things don't work out, then you'll be okay, which actually benefited me even till this day, because the reason right now that I'm still standing, and the reason right now that things are okay with me, is because of me. It's not because of any man or what anyone has done for me. It's because of the decisions that I've made for me as an individual, to make sure that I'm rooted and grounded, to make sure that I'm provided for. Because at the end of the day, when people leave you and they abandon you, you know, you know, uh, imagine dependent on them, you wouldn't have anything. So my most recent narcissist, the last one that I was just married to, he just up and left in like February. We got married in November. He up and left in February. So I'm very grateful for the fact that I had something set up. I had a business set up. I had consultations I was doing. Had different streams of income that was able to sustain me, to keep me from not falling to the wayside because he left. See, it's like people say they're going to do something and you depend on them, especially some men. And then when they get upset or they can just change their mind like that. And then they don't consider that you're in a situation. What are you going to eat? Your roof over your head. They don't look back on that. They just move away. And so this is the exact same thing that happened with my father. So my mother wanted to make sure that we never depended on a man to where they can leave us like that. And I have never, that have never happened to me in that, not that men haven't left, but I haven't been in a situation where I depended on them and I fell apart because they left. So I'm glad that I am the way I am. I learned a lot. I become a better person because of the experience that I have gone through with my father and with my upbringing. It just makes me strong enough to be open to if a man comes or husband comes and he's a good provider, then I feel blessed. But at the same time, I always have to have something for myself. So if things go awry, if he changes mind, and people do, men change their mind. Sometimes they start off, I want to provide for you, I want to take care of you. But then something happens in relationship, you guys have a disagreement, you have an argument, you have a falling out. They can change their mind and be like, I changed my mind, I don't want to take care of you. And that has happened to me on several occasions. So I've always, from that experience, I've always confirmed within myself that I'm never going to not work. I'm never going, not going to, when I say work, have a plan or have an idea of how I'm going to provide for myself. I'm never going to solely depend on a man to provide for me because he could change his mind. He is human. He is allowed to change his mind, even though he made a commitment. It just says a lot about him. But you, as a woman, as a female, have to make sure that you always have something that you can fall back on in case things go bad or they go awry. So, yeah, I've been in Africa since 2020. And even when I met him, I was already here 3.5 years or almost 4 years when I met him. So I already had things set up. So whether he stayed or not, that's not going to impact me because I've already had things set up and I never stop doing what I'm doing, whether a man comes in the picture or not. I'm going to always have what I have going on. I'm going to always have something for myself. So if he decides to change his mind, which the most recent narcissist that I was married to, he left. He just left. He never looked back. Do you have food? Do you have a roof? No, he didn't consider that. And the blessing is the fact that the Most High always provided, and that's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. He always provided for me for a roof and finances and everything. Everything is already set up, and He continues to bless me. I do consultations. I help those come back. I haven't worked a physical job since December of 2020 is when I quit my job and I decided to stay in Africa. But yeah, so that's kind of the root of why I think I maybe attract. Now I know why I attract, but I think that's the root to why I'm like a fixer or I tolerate some things that I shouldn't tolerate. I'm getting better even at my age. I'm in my 50s and I'm learning still that I have to set strong boundaries and I have to, at the very beginning, if I don't want to do it, I have to let them know. I have to be okay with saying, no, I'm sorry, I can't do it. Of course, respectfully, but, you know, those things at the beginning will show you that how that person is because with narcissists they don't like you to tell them no, so you'll start seeing red flags right away. So always keep your eyes open for the red flags. And it's something that I'm learning as well. A lot of times they run because they know that you see them for who they are. So I think that's what happened with the most recent one that I married. He saw that I saw him for who he really was and he had to go. He was like, yeah, she sees the truth. So because knowing I wasn't going to tolerate that, I had my own things going on. So with him or without him, I was going to be okay. So, yeah. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in to this channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. Please like and subscribe. And I'll do another video in the next couple of days. And yes, salama, shalom, peace, family. See you guys in the next video.